Swampwatch 1/8/20. We got the Watchman page for the new people. We are dedicated to waking up and preparing as many people as we can. I was called to be a watchman by God in 2014. I've been doing it ever since, about 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. I originally started just posting on Facebook, and then September, October last year, I, out of the clear blue, had a Facebook friend get a hold of me, and like a day later, we got the Watchman page started, and we're doing live chats. I don't, I'm not selling anything. I don't charge any fees for anything I do. I don't accept donations. I don't monetize any of the videos. I don't make a dime off of anything I do here. Alls I ask is that if you learn anything here, if you profit from what you learn here, you pay it forward. You pay it forward now by reaching out to your friends, your neighbors, and your relatives and joining us in waking them up. You pay it forward when the economy collapses, and I'll get into what's coming in a minute, but by helping with extra food and water. And then you pay it forward in the recovery phase with funds you've profited off your investments that you're going to learn about here. It's going to be a big need. When God basically showed me several things to relay. One, of the dangerous things, we've got the first ever worldwide economic collapse that's, I don't know how we're going to make it to the end of the month. It's going down any day. Days or weeks away. We've got the draining of the worldwide swamp. This is not just an American swamp. This is a worldwide swamp. The exposure of the worldwide satanic pedophile ring, which Ricky Gervais so graciously alerted the world to a couple of days ago. Trust me, that you're going to see that clip replayed the rest of your lives for 100 years. They're going to, or longer, thousands of years probably. They're going to replay that clip. It was epic in what it did to expose what's going on behind the scenes that they've been trying to hide forever. I mean, look how long the Pizzagate scandal's been around. It's been, what, 3-4 years? And it was been a conspiracy theory since day one. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. Satanic pedophiles control the world that we live in. Satanic pedophiles and globalism go hand in hand. Just look at the people that are screaming the most and loudest about President Trump, and you're going to see a real good list for the pedophiles that are going to be executed for torturing and murdering children. Epstein ran a honeypot for the CIA and Mossad. He recorded thousands of hours of the most disgusting video the world's ever seen. The most powerful, the wealthiest, best connected people in the world, the globalist, presidents, former presidents of the United States, royal family. The Pope went to Pedo Island. Think about that. What you're going to find is that the CIA and the Vatican, the main source of revenue for the black ops for the CIA came from child sex trafficking. The CIA actually had breeding farms. I hope they're all cleaned up now. But breeding farms in America, where they're breeding children, the cute ones they sell into child sex trafficking, the homely ones they sell for their body parts, organ harvesting. Let that sink in. CIA has been involved in abducting children in America, and the FBI has been involved in covering it up. 800,000 children a year go missing in America. 800,000 children a year. Doesn't it strike you odd? There are less than 40,000 gun deaths a year in America, and they're screaming at the top of their lungs, but 800,000 of our children go missing, and there's not a peep? There's a reason there's not a peep. Hundreds of politicians and government officials are going to be executed when this is all done. There's 140,000 sealed indictments nationwide right now. The normal for a year in America, sealed indictments, between 2,500 and 3,000. There's 140,000. All of these crooked politicians all over the country. California, there'll hardly be one left. Newsom will be gone. Everybody in California government, I'll guarantee right now, 60, 70% of the politicians in California will be in prison before the 2020 election. Or be out of office. Newsom's gone. You know, Obama, Clinton, Holder, Rice, McCabe, Mueller, hundreds in Washington. So that's who we are. That's what we do. I'm going to get into what I want to talk about tonight. Kind of along the same lines. I was going around with some members this afternoon about some post and another analyst, and it just illustrated to me how hard this is for the average person to figure this out, because we've got people who have been around for, over a year and are still having trouble figuring out who's telling the right stories. If analysts, no matter who it is, and forget the mainstream media, you're wasting your time, even with Fox. I was just thinking about this today. Hannity's got a 1-hour show. I mean, Laura Ingram's gotten better. Tucker Carlson's gotten a little bit better since this is ramping up, right? Since the globalists are on the ropes and are about done. It seems like the globalists running Fox now they kind of have to let it loose because they got nowhere else to go. But they've held them back for years of the stories they should have been telling. Don't waste your time with the mainstream media. If you really want to find out what's going on in the world, go to my page and look at the videos and the articles that I post on my page. If you want to wake yourself up the quickest way possible, that is absolutely the quickest way you can do it. Go back and watch some of the old live chats that I've been doing now. We have over 400 hours now of live chats on Facebook. Start with the most recent ones because obviously they're going to be the most current. Although, these topics I've been talking about, since we started the Watchman page, all of them, the worldwide economic collapse, the swamp draining, the pedophilia being exposed. Also, the other thing we do here that's probably the most important thing. We're not here just to fearmonger or clickbait. Like I said, I don't get paid. So whether, I would hope more people watch. Facebook has really been working against us. We've gone in spurts where we've hit as many as like 3,500 views in one video. And then, we average about 300 now, and it's kind of going up and down, but they've been uh, censoring us like crazy and diverting traffic, and you know the games they play. So we do what we can do. It's irrelevant. You know, we're going to spread this message as well as we can and wake up as many people as we can, because the more people that are prepared for what's coming, the easier this is going to be for all of us, including President Trump, in the amount of people that he needs to take care of. The basics: extra food, extra water, medical supplies, ammo, physical silver, and Litecoin. So we're not only telling you what's coming, we're getting you ready for what's coming, because when this economy goes down, all paper assets are eventually going to go to zero, and probably pretty quick. Bank accounts, pension funds, retirement accounts, stocks, bonds, money markets, all going to go to zero. You've got to have assets outside the system. You're going to lose 80% of the value in your property, your homes. If you've got physical silver and Litecoin, you will weather this storm just fine. And you don't need to go out. Say you've got 50,000, or a lot of people in the Bay Area got $1 million in their retirement accounts. If you can put $300 into Litecoin and silver right now, everything that you lose from what's coming, you will multiples make up on the backside of this thing. There's some analysts believe that Litecoin, which you can buy for under $50 today, one Litecoin under $50, they believe it'll be worth $3 million by 2024. And I think that number is conservative. I think it's going to be more. There's only 84 million Litecoin in the world. There's only 64 million have sold. So there's only about 20 million left in a planet with 7.5 billion people. And when this goes down, they're all going to be looking for a safe haven for anything they've been able to get outside the system and save from the system, to put it in some kind of solid assets, which are going to be precious metals, silver, physical silver, or cryptocurrencies. Litecoin. God showed me Litecoin, not Bitcoin, not Ethereum. He showed me physical silver, not gold. There's a reason for these things. Litecoin, I believe, is going to have the best return on investment of any asset in the history of the world. And silver is going to be awesome. Silver's been money for 5,000 years. There are all sorts of new technology coming online that require huge amounts of silver. I believe at some point in the future, near future, 5 to 10 years, silver will actually surpass gold in price. And with what's coming, and China, Russia, and the United States all coming out with gold-backed dollars, the economists believe that gold will jump to over 50,000 an ounce when this goes down, sometime between now and I think summer. It could go down before the end of this month. Things are that bad. Around the world, it's horrid. The EU's broke. China is broke. China just had something that the economic experts say would never happen again. First time in over 20 years, China had a state-backed bond default. In other words, it defaulted. They didn't have the money to back it. Now, if everything was normal, China would never allow a bond to default. They couldn't help it. Everybody is that broke. The world is drowning in debt. Right now, what you're seeing with the Federal Reserve in this repo program, the boat is taking on water and they can't bail fast enough. It's sinking. We don't have much time left. And you don't need to spend $1 million. $300, $400, $500. More if you can, because anything you leave in the bank, you're going to lose eventually. And you can use, I'll explain it later, but you can actually use your Litecoin account or Coinbase account as a secondary bank. to protect any cash you might have and want to keep out of the bank. You want to protect your assets the best you can. There's some people with retirement funds that they can't move or can't access. What happens happens. But if you can get a couple $100 into Litecoin, you're going to more than make up for what you lose. It's insurance against what's coming. POTUS had a great speech today. Press conference on Iran. It kind of the reporting after that we had the discussion about analysts and not understanding the situation. You can't look at the world anymore as individual countries. You can't look at America as liberal, conservative. Basically, the world, you got basically two factions: globalist and nationalist, or patriots if you're American. Those that believe in the globalist agenda, which is a one world government, one world currency, one world religion, and in Agenda 21, which everyone needs to read that. It's on the UN website. I think Bush signed it in 92, Bush Sr. And the bottom line, when you go to the end, they want the world's population to be 500 million by the year 2100. The problem is that the world population today is 7.5 billion, and the life expectancy is going up every year. So how do you get to 500 million in 80 years from 7.5 billion? When you get into this, you'll understand. They had bad intentions. They're satanic pedophiles. The only reason they wanted 500,000 is because we're like their cattle, basically. They need us because they want to feed off our adrenalized blood. That's why they torture these children before they murder them in these rituals. And then they drain their blood and drink because it's adrenalized. When a mammal is tortured, that fear causes the adrenochrome levels to spike in the bloodstream. And they believe adrenochrome gives them a high and makes them live longer. Think about this again now. Now think about this in comparison and relationship to the 800,000 kids that go missing a year. It's sickening. The video they have is horrific. The reason they've been fighting back so hard since Donald Trump announced he was running for president is because they knew that if he got in, they were finished. That's why they've been fighting so hard, because it's him or them. We're seeing Armageddon played out in front of us right now. The ultimate battle of good and evil is being played out right now. When we elected President Trump, I think we took the majority of Armageddon into the spiritual realm. Not that there's not a lot been going on behind the scenes that people don't know about, because all these earthquakes around the world are not earthquakes. There's a lot of deep underground bases around the world. And for over 2 years now, the SEALs and the Marines have been cracking heads, have been releasing these children from deep underground bases they were being trafficked out of. Those earthquakes in California in July, the 4th and the 5th of July, those weren't earthquakes at China Lake. There was a deep underground base underneath that base at China Lake. And those earthquakes were actually, they were fighting it out with the deep state. That's one of the reasons this thing's gone on so long. Um, the White Hats made it very clear up front there were going to be no deals. If you're guilty of treason or murder, you're going to be executed. It's not a coincidence that Barr, about 6 weeks ago, reinstated the federal death penalty for murder. Up until then, it was life sentence, was a maximum penalty. They reinstated it because they're going to eradicate these people from the face of the earth. If you're a traitor or a pedophile, a satanic pedophile murdering children, you're going to be executed. They were making no deals. And they need to make sure that all of the black hat threats, the deep state threats, were neutralized. You know, we're not dealing with Iran right now. We're dealing with the globalist deep state in Iran that basically was USA backed until President Trump came along. North Korea was the same thing. These aren't individual countries. They're all part of the globalist network. And you throw the EU in there too, because the EU was nothing more than a test balloon for the globalist game plan. That's the only thing the EU was there for. Test it out. Get people used to the idea. Then they're going to bring it worldwide. But guess what happened? God and President Trump had a different idea. And anybody that doesn't see God's hand in this isn't looking hard enough. I started this 5 years ago, over 5 years ago, when Obama was president, and it looked like Hillary was going to be next. And I used to rack my brain trying to figure out how can we get from where we were then to where we are right now, on the verge of destroying the globalists and their agenda and these satanic pedophiles, with hardly, at least on the surface, the general public, hardly a shot being fired. How do we get there? I didn't see a way to get to where we are right now today without millions of people dying. Because I thought we were eventually going to have to shoot it out. I knew that eventually they would come for our guns. And, you know, there's a lot of people here that aren't giving their guns up. That's the red line in the sand for a patriot. Well, they were just going to start a nuclear war. That's why the white hats in the military, like Admiral Rogers, went to President Trump a couple of years ago and laid it out for him and explained to him what was going on, that they were trying to take down America from the inside. And how they were going to get our guns was they were just going to start a nuclear war. They were going to go into their bunkers and come out after we were all basically gone, clean up the remnants. That was the plan. So they basically laid it out for President Trump. There's two ways this is going to go. Either he was going to get elected and it would go much smoother, which it has. I mean, brilliant, the plan. Unbelievable. Or Hillary was going to win the election and then there was going to be a military coup. And just think about that. With the tone at that time and the chaos and all the misinformation, if there would have been a military coup and the military would have backed POTUS, President Trump, it would have been civil war. They would have, because back then the mainstream had done such a good job, half the country still didn't believe he could be president because of all the propaganda they laid out for 2 years. Well, look at where we are now. Look at the hashtag walkaway movement. Look what happened with Brexit. The world has turned. When the world hears this story and then realizes the reason that he was under constant attack from the mainstream media, the world is going to unite behind President Trump. When this evil that has been responsible for every war, every terrorist attack, every school shooting for 300 years, the globalists have been behind all of this. It's all part of the globalist agenda to control us, to manipulate us, steal us blind, and then use us as basically cattle and the menial task that their AI can't do. That was the plan. There was going to be, I think, 6 or 9 mega cities in America. 50% of the landmass in America, human feet could not touch. That was their plan for America. There was going to be like 6 or 9 cities. You couldn't live outside the city. Not going to happen. But that was their plan. And if it wasn't for God and President Trump, millions would have already been dead to this point in time. And now we're sitting on the precipice of man's greatest achievement. This evil has been running the world for thousands of years, since Babylon. Eradicating them from the face of the earth. Think about that. They've been doing this for thousands of years. They were so arrogant, you could see it in their faces. They didn't think there was any way that we could beat them. Even after President Trump won the election, they still thought, they were still grinning from ear to ear. You know, they had the insurance policy, right? The backup plan. Yeah, we're just going to get them out. We're going to make something up and have them removed from office. Not going to happen. Or assassinate him. That's why Pence is there. Pence isn't a good guy. Pence is going to go down with the swamp. He's a pedophile, and President Trump didn't want him. Basically, they pulled a JFK on him. You know, that's what they did with JFK. They made him take Johnson, with the plan being, if he gets out of line, we'll kill him, assassinate him, and then our guy will be president. That's what they did with Pence. He didn't want Pence. They forced Pence on President Trump. The deal was, take him or we're not going to back you and we're not going to give you any money. That's why he waited so long. Well, he did the right thing. I mean, I think he had to do it to get elected. And they've, you know, there's been no damage done. But Pence is not going to be the running mate in 2020. That's a whole other story, and there's a good one, but I won't get into it tonight. Pretty amazing stuff coming, guys. So we're going to have the greatest transfer of wealth in human history over the next year. We're going to, on the cusp of man's greatest accomplishment, headed into man's greatest age. There is nothing to fear from what's coming. Everything that's happening has to happen for us to take back this world, for us to have the world that God wanted, for us to have the country that our founders intended. This all has to happen. When we find out the truth, we're going to understand that we haven't been free for sure since the Federal Reserve took over, and probably long before that. We're going to be free for the first time in our country in 100 years plus. It's all good. We just have to convince everybody we know that it's all good, because it's very scary stuff when you start talking about it. Cognitive dissonance is our number one threat as a country. What happens when people get this negative information that contradicts their strongly held beliefs? Just think about an Obama supporter or a Clinton supporter, even worse, where people have supported them for 30 years, lost friends over them, and now they find out, defended them to the end, and then find this out, that they're satanic pedophiles. They torture and murder children. They're on film torturing and murdering children. There's not, I live in the Bay Area, San Francisco. I'm 25 miles from San Francisco. We've lost every friend we basically had in the Bay Area here because of what I'm doing. Obviously, all Democrats. Even though they're misguided, there's not one of them I know that will ever vote for a Democrat again. President Trump wins the 2020 election with 90% of the vote. Hands down. The biggest landslide in our country's history in a presidential election. Think about this video coming out before the election, this list of everybody that's going down, most of them Democrats, although the Bushes are right at the top too. Bush 43 is going down. He's going to be executed. Obama, the Clintons, maybe all three of them. And the top 30 in the Obama administration, the top 25 or so in the Bush administration, they're all going. Justice will be served. Not one of them that's guilty is going to escape justice. That's why it's taking longer than we'd all like. Because they want to make sure, number one, that their number one goal through this has been to keep the casualties to a minimum. They could have gone with this, the first year. After the first year, I think, and would have been fine. Well, we'd have lost more people. It's a tough situation. I mean, that's why I had a stroke last March, a hemorrhagic stroke. And it was because internalizing all this knowledge about the satanic pedophilia and getting so wound up about wanting to end it as quickly as possible, that stroke almost killed me. Permanent disability, can't drive, partially blind, cognitive issues. It's all good. I mean, it's amazing I'm recovered to the point I am, and we're blessed. And I do it all again. But that's what can happen, when this is horrible stuff. I don't want to see any videos. They're going to make these videos available for people to access online. I don't want to see them. I mean, I know what's there. That's all I need to know. That human beings, that you could do it to another human being is horrific enough. But children, we're talking children. It can't come quick enough. But it's going to happen when God's ready for it to happen. And I've kind of adapted and learned how to adjust to it. I can't control it, right? I'm not the one calling the shots. I don't have all the information President Trump has. What I can control is what I'm doing right now. Reaching out to more people, talking to as many people as I can, posting as much as I can, trying every day to get that one more person, because every person makes a difference, and this is life-changing stuff. We're going to take people that are, many of them, lower middle class, and flip places with these monsters who've been running the world. I know millionaires that are going to lose everything because they just can't believe this is coming. They made, they're my age, in their 60s. They made tons of money in the stock market their whole lives. They weren't around for 29. They just don't believe it. And they're gonna get crushed. And the crazy thing is, for $1,000, they could cover the millions they're gonna lose with $1,000. But their egos are getting in the way. You can't let your egos get in the way. You can't let cognitive dissonance get in your way, because that's the other thing, is because people tend to take this on negatively, they tend to shut down. They don't want to hear it. No, it can't happen. No, it's not going to happen. It's a good one is 9/11. It's one we like to use. For the new people, 9/11 was an inside job. Bin Laden is not responsible for 9/11. It was a Saudi Arabia, deep state USA, and Mossad from Israel. But there's an organization, Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. It's posted on the Watchman page. 3,000 architects and engineers that basically have really dug deep into the evidence, and it's beyond a shadow of a doubt. The evidence that they've presented to New York about 2 months ago, they just reopened the investigation on 9/11 because of the information they provided. It's a scientific fact. It didn't happen the way they said it happened. Those planes did not bring down those 3 buildings. The 2 planes didn't bring down 3 buildings. All 3 were controlled demolition. It wasn't a jetliner that hit the Pentagon. Didn't you think it was a little bit odd that on September 10th, I think it was Rumsfeld, has a press conference where he announces that there's, I think it was 3.1 trillion missing from the Department of Defense. Listen how this played out. That they were going to get to the bottom of it. They had a crack team working on it. They were going to find out where the money went, and he would get back to us. Well, guess what happens the next day? This jetliner miraculously hits the exact office that this investigation is happening, where all the evidence is. And in probably, arguably, the most secure building in the world, the video goes down. They can't get any video footage of it. Come on. If you're not aware, go to the website, watch the video on Building 7. They lay out the facts. Thermite was all over the debris. Thermite is the explosive they use for building demolition. How did it get there? Was a plane hauling a load of it? It didn't happen, guys. Building 7, they say, came down because of a fire that mysteriously started. So we have 2 planes hit the Twin Towers in the same complex, and then all out of clear blue, a fire starts in the basement, and then that building collapsed. No plane ever hit it. No plane touched it. That building comes down that evening. Here's the problem. In the history of construction, there has never been a concrete building fail because of fire. Ever. Heck, they had a B-29 hit the Empire State Building in 40-something, 42 or 47. Direct hit. Rocked it. Not even a hint that it was coming down. It's still standing today. Since then, all high-rises, in New York for sure, had to meet special codes to where they could withstand a direct hit from the largest airliner in the world. These planes didn't take down the buildings. They were controlled demolitions. And if you go to the video, it lays it all out for you. The point is that you can show this to someone who you think's fairly intelligent, fairly reasonable. It's like they got blinders on. Don't want to see it, don't want to hear it. The best thing you can do with people is sit down with the video and watch it with them and help them through it, because that cognitive dissonance sets in. And it's like a computer buffering. They can't absorb the information. It's like they shut down. It's like they're overloading. That's the whole point in trying to do this. We could just say, screw it, let's just wait till it happens. The problem is, if this goes worst case scenario, and worst case scenario would mean, so we're going to have worldwide economic collapse, draining of the swamp, exposure of the worldwide pedophilia ring within a 2 to 4 week period, probably 2 weeks. Most of this is going to come out. That's a lot of negative information in a short period of time. That's how people are going to take it, learning it that way. it's a short period. And then you've got, if it goes worst case scenario, if the power goes out, if the grocery stores run out of food, you're going to have rioting and looting. Once the grocery stores are out of food for 7 days, people are hungry and there's kids to feed. It's going to get ugly. And if President Trump can't keep the stores open to keep the power on, it could go worst case scenario. I don't think that's going to happen, but we have to be prepared for it to happen. If it did go worst case scenario, it's the worst time to have cognitive dissonance. You're not thinking clearly. You got kids that are screaming because they're hungry, and you live in a liberal city, and maybe you don't have a gun or ammo. You don't want to be walking the streets in that state of mind with cognitive dissonance. It's a good way to get killed. The more people we can wake up now, the more people we can make sure make it through this thing. The ones that don't know about this, it's a coin toss. I think if President Trump keeps the power on and keeps food in the stores, everybody will get through this. There might be shortages. You might not eat every single day, but it won't be mass chaos. You're going to declare martial law. The Marines will be out in the street, and the National Guard. But they've got to have food. That's going to be the kicker. And that's why we always say, get extra. You're going to have loved ones who you try and explain this to who aren't going to listen. You're going to have to cover them. You want extra food, extra water. Extra meaning not just for you and your kids, but your extended family and friends. That's part of the paying it forward. It may be people you don't know. Bottom line is we've got to pull together when this comes, and we will. When you look at our history, every time we've been faced with a challenge, we've pulled together and gotten through it. And it's not going to be any different now. This is nothing that we haven't faced before. We've been through tough times as Americans before. We'll get through this, but we'll get through it by pulling together. And for all of us who've been speaking out and taking the abuse, there can be no hard feelings, because we're going to have people come back to us that have maybe said some horrible things. Water under the bridge. We got to move forward. That's how we get through this thing. We've got to set the example. We've got to be the ones leading this thing, because most people are going to be shell-shocked. And we've got to be there to help keep them moving. Those people that you know that are diehard liberals, if you haven't heard from them after this all blows, you may want to reach out to them. They might be embarrassed to call you for help or ask you what's going on because of what they said. Don't let that stand in the way. If there are people that are close to you, you care about, even if you just think, maybe somebody you may not care a lot about, if you know they're struggling, reach out. Help the people that you can. That's what God wants. God wants us to get through this together. We're going to be a stronger country, and it's going to be a better world because of the things that are coming. Just think about this evil being removed and what that means. Virtually the end of war. Virtually the end of these events that we've been having the last 20 years. All these school shootings. It's all globalist driven. All about getting our guns and really, I mean, you can look at every event and kind of figure out what they're trying to do when they pull it. But the main push, obviously, was getting our guns. That's why they had all these shootings. They're trying to shame us. All these kids are dying. How can you keep your guns? Thank God for the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment and President Trump are both going to be credited with saving not only our constitutional republic, but the world. Because if they got our guns, it was over. They wouldn't have been able to stand up. If they had the full power of American military might, um, and virtually, I mean, you look at it. I feel bad for the people that are in globalist controlled countries, which is most of the world. Um, you know, for sure, the two exceptions are us and Russia. China, kind of on the fence. They could go either way. Um, but, you know, the whole EU, globalist, most of South America, globalist, although that's shifting. You're seeing a shift in the EU too. Give it 2 years, it can be a completely different world. You can see people around the world watching what's going on in America. Look what's going on in Hong Kong. Look what's going on in Iran right now. The people in Iran love President Trump. The people in China love President Trump. The people in the EU love President Trump. There's a theme here. There's a shift happening. The world is changing fast. The better prepared you are, the easier this is going to be. The people that are prepared are going to thrive through this and beyond. And the ones that aren't are going to struggle. Or worse, depending on where they are, you know, where they live, what their resources are. It's dicier if you live in a liberal city, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, LA. It's going to be a lot tougher road there than if you live in the country or somewhere like Texas or Nevada or somewhere where you've got some space and you're not right on top of people. The cities are going to be dangerous if it goes worst case. Like I said, keep the power on, keep the stores with food. We're going to be fine. A lot better if you're prepared. I better get rolling here. Let me just make sure I got everything covered I wanted to tonight. Let's look at questions real quick. Tessie, Christine, Gary, how's it going? Susan, hello. Chad, what's up? Cash will eventually go to zero. It won't be right away, but eventually cash will go to zero. It's a fiat dollar, guys. There's nothing backing it. It won't be worth the paper it's written on. Well, yeah, the mainstream media is going down. The Democratic Party is going down. They're done. Probably by the 2020 election. Rebecca, hello. Cheryl, how are you? David? Gary? No, Pence is not on the ticket. President Trump has not announced who his 2020 running mate is going to be. It's not going to be Pence. Rhinos are all globalist. Paul Ryan, he's going down. Probably Rubio too. There's going to be a lot of surprises. Well, Durham, well, we already know, guys. Well, what's Durham going to tell us that we don't already know? And honestly, I think this is going to go down before Durham's report's done. They don't have to. There's 140,000 sealed indictments. He's just got a report. He's not talking about indictments. He's going to have a report. The indictments could already be done. Don't be fooled into thinking that the arrest can't start until he issues his report. Just think about it. President Trump's not going to tell him when it's coming. He would love for him to think that. This is what President Trump wants him to think. They won't come for us till after that report comes out. It's not going to go that long. They don't want it to be too close to the election. So I think they've got to do this before summer. Gene, talking to friends. Get them on board, guys. Carbon 60. Everybody look into Carbon 60. That's something you should have. Get it at Amazon. Go to YouTube. I don't have time to talk about it tonight. Go to YouTube. Punch in Carbon 60. Look at the studies on Carbon 60. I've been on this stuff for 5 years now, I think. It's 4 or 5 years. Amazing. Look at it and buy some. It's like $18 for a bottle that lasts a week. You can stretch it out if you wanted and take a smaller dose. Message me if you have any questions about it. Gary just posted the website for, actually it's ae911truth.org. We know the worldwide economic collapse is coming. We know the swamp is draining. We know the satanic pedophiles are going to be exposed. We know that we're headed into man's greatest age. I don't know what else we need to know. Can I tell you exactly how it's going to play out? No, I can't. But with what we do know, that's a hell of a lot more than 97 or 8% of the rest of the world knows. Use it to your advantage. Knowledge is more important right now, this minute, than at any time in history. And here's the thing, guys. I wouldn't trade places with anyone in history. This 20 years, from 5 years ago to the next 15, is going to be the most talked about period in mankind's history. There's more going to happen in these 20 years, probably 10, than the last 100,000. It's science fiction stuff. All of the technology that they've been holding back is going to be revealed and released. Cures for virtually every ailment known to man, including cancer, they've had for years. They say cancer over 50 years. They say they've had the cure for cancer for over 50 years. Yeah, supposedly you can cure it with sound waves, frequencies, can cure cancer. It's all coming out, guys. Anti-gravity machines, basically, we're all going to be... You know why they're not worried about the infrastructure? Because it doesn't make any difference. We won't need roads and bridges. We're going to be driving in cars with anti-gravity. I mean, we're flying saucers, basically. We're all going to be... within 5 or 10 years. 0-point energy. The technology exists. Everybody's going to have a lunch pail sized box in their house that runs the power for the house for 20 years. No more third world countries. Power anywhere in the world. You'll be able to work. Internet service from anywhere in the world. Anywhere. The jungles in the Amazon, in the Himalayas. It's world changing. It's life changing. And then you've got all the evil and manipulation removed from the world. You think it's going to be a little bit nicer? It's completely different. It's heaven on earth. It's paradise. Is it going to be perfect? No. But compared to what we've lived with for the last 2,000 years, it's going to be heaven on earth. Man's greatest age. Nothing to fear. There's nothing but good things coming. That's a word we need to be spreading. Yeah, we've got to get ready for some stuff. Big deal. You're getting ready to launch into the future where everybody else is going to be crawling. We're taking rocket ships into the future. When you're prepared for this, you're leapfrogging the other 98% and putting like-minded people, patriots and Christians, in charge of the new world. instead of satanic pedophiles? Where would you rather live? Where would you rather be? And to be a part of this, I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime. I knew when I was 12 years old this had to happen. That the only way to save the world for this exact thing to happen, I couldn't see how, it was 1967. We had the most powerful military, the greatest economy the world's ever seen, and then the Catholic Church I knew was crooked. And, they're the richest, probably the richest entity on the face of the earth. How does that come down? It's all coming down. It's the end of the Catholic Church. They're done. This is the last pope. The Catholic Church will come down from inside, just like they wanted to take down America from inside. Only we're not going down. The Vatican is. The royal family is. And that's the thing. There were 3 centers. Vatican for religion, London for the financial system, and we were the muscle. That's why we had 200 bases around the world. It wasn't to protect our interest. It was to protect the bankers and the globalist interest. When you look at it from this perspective, everything else becomes clear. What's going on with China? What's going on with Iran? What's going on with North Korea? All makes sense. Why the deep state wanted to keep President Trump away from Putin, because Putin knows what's going on. He threw the globalists out of Russia. He threw Rothschild, I think, still has a warrant out for his arrest in Russia. They threw their central bank out. You want to see a regime change in the past? Look what happened when somebody tried to go off to go to a gold standard or get rid of their central bank. There was a regime change. They wouldn't allow it. They were assassinating democratic leaders to push communist leaders ahead because they were going to go along with a globalist agenda. That was our CIA. That's why the CIA is done. Mark my words. CIA is done. The Federal Reserve is done. I think the IRS is done. Think about it. There's going to be no taxes. Sales tax. Not sales tax. No income tax. How it should be. The way our Constitution says it's supposed to be. All this land that the government owns, they're not supposed to own. It's going to change. All of these issues with the Second Amendment, First Amendment, all these constitutional violations are going to be removed from the books. By the end of President Trump's second term, all of this crap's going to be cleaned up. And we're going to have a new world. Awesome stuff, guys. Nothing to be upset about. Okay. I'm not doing too bad here on time. Tower 7 was not hit by a plane. Building 7. The Twin Towers, Building 1, Building 2, they were hit by planes. Building 7 is the third building that went down that day in the evening, they said because of a fire. All 3 of those buildings were controlled demolitions. Anybody who hasn't seen that video, Gary, please repost it. AE911truth.org. Everybody needs to watch that video 2 or 3 times. If you can't red pill people with that video, you haven't seen it enough times. You don't know it well enough because it's loaded with facts. They're facts, not speculation, not theory. It's a scientific fact. There was thermite loaded in the debris. It's a scientific fact. A concrete building has never failed because of fire. Fact. On and on and on. Take a look at the video, guys. Get back to me if you have any questions. We definitely lost sight of God, but that was all part of the plan. Bigger than losing God was them taking over our educational system because think about this. You think it's not an accident that at the same time they started really taking hold of our educational system, that things tightened up financially, where eventually both parents had to work. And now, not only do both parents have to work, sometimes they got to work 2 and 3 jobs. How come? Because they're never home with the kids. And when they're never home with the kids, who ends up raising them? The school system. The propaganda in the school system. The liberal, communist, Muslim-driven since Obama school systems. They can make the kids learn to recite the Quran, but you can't say a prayer in an American school. All that crap is gone. Don't get excited about that stuff. He's on it. We got to take care of the big stuff first. Trust me, it's all coming, guys. The most important thing any of you can be doing right now is exactly what we're doing. There's nothing more important. And I've challenged people for a year now. Tell me something that's more important than this. And you can't. Because there's nothing more important to our country than surviving what's coming. And not only surviving, but thriving through it. Being ready, prepared, and then coming out of it the other side, running. Instead of floundering around like usually happens after a financial collapse. April, how you doing? If people don't want to, if people don't have an open mind and an IQ over 50, don't waste your time. Move on to the next one. There's plenty of people out there to help. Help the ones that are asking for it, because now I've got 5 years to judge this on. Trust me, 5 years ago, it was like pulling teeth. Today, I'm talking to 4 or 5 people a day, at least, that are calling me. So it's a whole different thing now, guys. It's much easier today. If you get somebody that doesn't want to listen, go to the next one. Susie's asking if it's better to lay low. Well, here's the problem. I only think it's better to lay low with the people that you care enough about that you're going to cover with extra food, water, medical supplies, and assets, Litecoin and silver, through this. Because we have the problem. If we wait, it's going to be much easier. And trust me, once this thing blows up, all of our phones will be ringing off the hook, because everybody will know now what we talk about, and they're going to remember that we warned them about this, and they're going to call us. But the problem is, you won't be able to get Litecoin, you won't be able to get silver, you might not be able to get food and water, it might be too late. So we might be able to help them ease the cognitive dissonance, but it's much better to catch them early than after it happens, right? We want to try and prevent them from falling into that cognitive dissonance. So if they're like, I talked a little about this the other day. Like with my kids, I've kind of backed off. I've got them covered. I've got the food. I've got the Litecoin and silver. When it happens, trust me, they know what's going on. We've had hundreds of conversations. It's all good. And the other thing is with my kids, just to make sure I don't mislead you, my kids have been awesome. They really stepped up when I had the stroke. Part of the problem is it's not just everything with them. It's not that they don't agree with most of what I'm saying. It's that they want me to stop doing this because they know that it's not good for me with my blood pressure issues and my stroke. Hemorrhagic stroke is the least common and the most dangerous. You've got there's a 71% chance you won't be alive in 5 years if you survive a hemorrhagic stroke. And every time your blood pressure goes up, and because me, they never found the cause of it, truly. I mean, I know what the cause was. Um, so every time my blood pressure goes up, you know, it's dangerous. So they don't want me to do this. And I'm not going to stop. So that's one of the other reasons that I've kind of backed off is because I just don't want to, we don't need to go there. I'm not stopping. They're not happy. We'll get through it. Everything's going to be fine. Well, listen, guys, you're always going to have people that say you're crazy, tinfoil hat. Like it's getting easier. So don't worry about what people are saying. Keep moving forward. Don't let it phase you. Keep doing your research. Keep reaching out to people on social media. Don't get discouraged. We're all in this together. Yeah, we call it planting seeds, guys. It's not a bad thing to have an argument with someone over this because it's a seed planted. And think about this. So, would you rather not have a clue about any of this and then get blindsided with it when everything blows up? Or would you rather have that in your mind and know about it and someone has kind of explained it to you so when it happens, you have a reference point. You can kind of understand and you have someone you can go back to ask questions. Trust me, it's a good thing. It's better to have an argument than to not say anything. And I know it's difficult, but we've got to be bold now. It's not a time to be afraid of what's coming or to be afraid of upsetting someone. We're going to, trust me, I've upset thousands of people. They're all going to remember. And they're going to come back to me when this happens. And no hard feelings on my side. Trust me, when they understand, when they see, they finally get it, they're going to feel horrible about the things they said and the way they treated us. Push, guys. Don't back off. Be a lion, not a lamb. Armor of God. Put it on. And trust me, as difficult as you think it is today, it's nothing like it was 5 years ago. So just do the best you can with it. And as you do this more, it becomes easier, guys. It gets more comfortable. Trust me. And listen, there's other ways you can help. You know, reposting the live chats or inviting friends, tagging friends to the live chats, right? You know, when you type in their name in the comment section, all those things help. It avoids a confrontation. So if especially right now, if you're new and you're uncomfortable doing it, back off of actual interacting with people, but you can still tag them, you can still send them things. Any of those things are better than not doing anything. The Pope's gone. The royal family's done. Did you see? Here's another indicator. Uh, who's the one that just got married to Markle? They're leaving the royal family. They're going to go make their own living. Do you think that's a coincidence? No. Because the royal family knows they're cut off. Oh, that's the other thing. We've been funding the UK. They've been taking money from us from like since 1871. We had to file bankruptcy. That's all going to come out. That's what the trip in June was about. He told the Queen to pound sand, that they weren't getting it anymore, that we were cutting them off. Now their money's dried up. We cut them off. They're cut off from their child sex trafficking, which was a number one moneymaker, and we've cut them off from their drug money. They're in dire straits, which is a good thing. And all of the assets from all these criminals, executive order written 12/21/17, that allowed the government to seize the assets of any corporation or individual that's involved in human trafficking or corruption. Amazon, Twitter, Facebook, all going down. Google. And their assets are going to be seized. Cousin Bill, how's it going? Keith, what's up? Obama didn't just know about Iran. Obama got some of that cash back. Obama took a kickback on Iran. $160 million, I think. One complete plane filled with cash was a kickback plane that went to a separate base, and the globalists split up the money. It's all coming out, guys. Everything that's been hidden will be known, number one. Number two, everything that's been stolen from us will be paid back sevenfold. Think about that. That's where this wealth is coming back from, guys. Because these criminals are going to be stripped of their wealth, and most of them are going to be executed. Tessie, I can't keep up anymore with the new people. I'm having a hard time just keeping up with the information and helping people. It's busy, very busy, and that's a good thing. That's what we want. Well, Mark Taylor, new info on the Catholic Church. Well, he said all along that the Catholic Church is done. So I don't know how much more it could be new. It's happening, guys. All of it's going down. Earl, how's it going? Monica, how you doing? Yeah, obviously, guys, you don't want to risk your jobs over this, right? So if you're in a job with a lot of liberals, don't make your case there. You know, do what you can. Don't hurt your family to do this. You got to take care of your family first. There are plenty other places you can address this. Doesn't have to be at work. Probably better if it's not. If you have people you can talk to, definitely. But don't push it. Greg Hunter's great. Mark Taylor. X22 report, SGT report. Okay, guys, that's it for the questions. And we're over an hour. So remember, it's all in the presentation. And I know it's hard. It's difficult information, but you got to present it in the most positive way you can. And you have to, over and over again, it's all good. This has to happen. It might be rough, but we've been through rough spots before. We've always gotten through them. We'll get through this one. I'm going to wrap it up there for tonight, guys. Remember, fear not. God and President Trump are 1,000% in control. I'll see you tomorrow night at 5 Pacific. God bless.